Hi there. Welcome. So happy to have you with me today. This is Mrs. Keeler, and I want to know if you have this book at your house. This book is called The Random House Book of Fairy Tales. We're going to be doing a lot of our language arts stories out of this book. And so if you have it, you can either go get it and follow along with me, or you can just watch the webcam and I'll read it and show you the pictures. Fairy tales are stories about princes and princesses, kings and queens, talking animals sometimes. They're make-believe stories, and we're going to have a lot of fun with them this year. Today we're going to read the story of Cinderella. Have you ever heard of that story? I thought maybe you had. Well, this one might be a little bit different. The words might be a little different than the story you've heard before, but that's okay. It will help us increase our vocabulary or the words that we know. So let's get started. If you want to go get your book, you can pause the recording and go get it and turn to page 138 and join me by looking at the pictures in your own book, or you can just follow along with me as I read and I'll show you the pictures on the webcam. When it's time to turn the page, you'll see my magic wand point at the camera, and you'll hear something like this. Okay? All right, here we go. Cinderella by Charles Perrault. There once was a man whose wife died, and so he took another. The new wife was proud and haughty and had 2 daughters who were just like her in every way. But the man also had a daughter, and she was sweet and gentle and good as gold. The wedding was hardly over before the woman began to make her stepdaughter's life a misery. That means she wasn't nice to her. The young girl's goodness was like a beacon, showing up the faults of her own 2 daughters, and so the woman could not bear her. She gave the girl the meanest work in the house to do. She had to scour the dishes and scrub the floors and pick up after her stepsisters. From early morning until late at night, she was made to work, and her bedroom was in a garret way at the top of the house. That means it was away from everybody else, and it was probably very small. She slept upon a wretched straw bed, while her 2 stepsisters lay in fine rooms with carpets on the floors and looking glasses so tall that they could see themselves from head to foot. A looking glass is a mirror. The young girl did all she was asked and dared not complain to her father, who would have only scolded her, for his new wife ruled him entirely. That means she was the boss now. When she had finished her work, she used to go into the chimney corner and sit quietly among the cinders, and so she was called Cinderwench. But the younger sister, who was not quite so rude as the others, called her Cinderella. In her ragged clothing, with her dirty face, Cinderella was yet 100 times more beautiful than her stepsisters. After some months had passed, the king's son gave a ball for all the stylish people in the countryside. Before we turn the page, I wanted to show you the picture of the stepmother. Are you ready? The 2 sisters were also invited, and immediately they set about choosing the gowns and petticoats, the hair ornaments, and the slippers they would wear. This made Cinderella's work still harder, for it was she who had ironed their linen and pleated their ruffles. All day long the sisters talked of nothing but how they should be dressed. "I think I shall wear my red velvet suit with the French trimmings," said the eldest. "And I," said the youngest, "shall wear my gold-flowered mantle and my diamond necklace." The best hairdressers were called in to style their hair. The best face powder and lip rouge were obtained. In all these matters the sisters consulted Cinderella, for she always knew what was most becoming. One night, as she was helping them to undress, they said to her, "Cinderella, Would you not like to go to the ball?" "Please, sisters, do not mock me," she said. "How could I ever dream of such a thing?" "You are right," they answered. "People would surely laugh to see a cinder wench at the ball." For 2 days the sisters could hardly eat for excitement. So tightly did they lace themselves that they broke a dozen laces, and they were always looking at their glasses, trying on their gowns. In the olden days, they used to lace up their dresses down the back with kind of like shoelaces, and they'd pull them really tight to make them look really skinny. And that's what it means when it says they broke a dozen laces. They were lacing up their dresses so tight. At last, the evening of the ball came. Cinderella watched the sisters leave for the court, and when she had lost sight of them, she began to weep. What does it mean to weep? Yeah, she began to cry. Her godmother, who was a fairy, saw her tears and asked what was the matter. "I wish I could, but she could not speak for crying. "You wish you could go to the ball, is that not so?" said her godmother. Cinderella nodded with her eyes cast down. Here's a picture of Cinderella and her fairy godmother. Time to turn the page. Are you ready? "Well then, go you shall," said her godmother. Then she took the girl and bade her to go into the garden for a pumpkin. Cinderella picked the finest she could find and carried it back to her godmother, though she could not imagine how a pumpkin could help her get to the ball. Do you know how that's going to help her get to the ball? I thought you might. Then her godmother scooped out the inside of it, leaving nothing but the rind, and struck it with her wand. She had a magic wand. She struck it. Instantly, the pumpkin turned into a fine gilded coach. This is what a coach looks like. Can you see that? I wonder how they're going to get the horses. Let's find out. Next, her godmother went to look in the mouse trap, where she found 6 mice, all alive. She told Cinderella to lift the trap door, and as each mouse came out, she tapped it with her wand. One by one, the mice were turned into dapple gray horses, and soon there was a fine set of them to draw the coach. That means to pull the coach. But they would still need a coachman. So Cinderella said, "I will go and see if there isn't a rat in the rat trap. Perhaps we might make a coachman of him." "You are right," replied her godmother. "Go quickly and look." Cinderella brought a rat trap to her, and there were 3 rats inside. The godmother chose the one with the longest whiskers, and as soon as she touched him with her wand, he became a fat coachman with a most imposing beard. After that, she said to Cinderella, "Go again into the garden, and you will find 6 lizards behind the watering pot. Bring them to me by their tails." As soon as the girl had done so, her godmother turned them into 6 footmen, who jumped up behind the coach and held on as if they had done nothing else their whole lives. Then her godmother said to Cinderella, "Well, my dear, here is your carriage. I hope it pleases you." "Oh, yes," the girl cried. "But am I to wear these rags to the ball?" What do you think she's going to say? I'll show you this picture. Fairy godmother making everything set and ready to go. You think she's going to go to the ball in rags? Let's find out. Time to turn the page. Her godmother simply touched Cinderella with her wand, and at once her clothes were turned into a gown of gold and silver with jewels embroidered on the skirt. Then she gave Cinderella a pair of glass slippers, the most beautiful imaginable. But as the girl was making ready to leave, her godmother warned her that she must return home by midnight. If she stayed one moment longer, her coach would be a pumpkin again, her horses mice, her coachman a rat, her footmen lizards, and her clothing would turn back into rags. Cinderella promised she would not be late, and then she went off to the ball, her heart pounding for joy. And here's a picture of her in her beautiful gown. You see that? Oh man, that is pretty, isn't it? And her godmother. Well, that is where we're going to stop today. But tomorrow, come back and we will finish the story of Cinderella. Okay? Thanks so much. Have a great day.